You Forgan Fargan ice hole son of a bebop and other words that kind of sound like curses. Jamie?
Yeah.
Let's go watch Johnny Dangerously. Welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies. We're an 80s movie podcast, and every other week we watch a different movie from the 80s, and then we talk about it. I'm one of your two hosts. My name's Doug McCambridge, and with me, as always, Jamie Laurel, wishing for simpler times, wishing that she lived in a time when everyone was poor, I guess.
Yeah.
Except for gangsters and cleaning ladies. It's Jamie Laurello.
Oh, it's a marvelous time. The immigrants were flooding the streets and just,
that's it.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Immigrants, limited immigrants, let's say. What would you say? Italians and Irish. Like, I'm pretty sure that's all there is.
Yeah, that's what we got
movie.
represented here, yeah.
And I guess this movie's kind of making fun of those 30s, 40s gangster movies. Is that, like, what... I don't mean to say that I'm confused by this, but...
I don't want to say it's making fun with it. I think it's having fun with it.
I was like, wait, was this serious? Everything
no,
I
it's
saw
not a serious movie. I did first, because based off my recommendation, which we'll get to, I was like, and this is not based off of a true story, but I did take a minute to think about it. Because again, I've been watching this movie. This movie is, we did a couple of years back, was it a Handshake 5 that we called it, right?
80s Handshake 5, where there were...
And we talked...
Yeah, 5 movies that were sort of important to us. We tried to avoid things that are just huge blockbusters that everybody's seen, but movies that really, like, tell people who we are. Mm-hmm. And this was one of yours.
This was on my list. And we sort of made a pact that we wouldn't choose these movies necessarily to cover because they had just a certain connection to us that we were like, you know what, we don't...
We already talked about them for our patrons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to say that's the only reason, but yeah, that was a reason.
However, we didn't choose this movie, this pick necessarily.
No, I would have never seen this movie, I'm going to say. I think it's a safe bet to say that there's a really good chance I would have died having not seen this.
Well, then we must thank the great, gorgeous listener that recommended this movie. We must.
Her name is Michelle.
Thank you.
I mean, I will listen. I am going to agree that she's great and gorgeous. I didn't know if you had the name on your notes when you were going, and I decided to help you out a little bit. No, I appreciate Michelle, and I got to tell you, Michelle is really, who can forget Lace? And I thought. I really thought that, and I'm not telling Michelle what to do, I thought that after she asked if the Lace thing was okay, since it was a two-parter, since it was a made-for-TV thing, since it was basically 4 hours, and we said, oh, yeah, that's fine, I kind of expected that would have opened the floodgates.
Like set a precedent for her, yeah.
And we would just
be like, miniseries it is.
TV miniseries after TV miniseries. And we'd be like, I don't know, I guess we could do all episodes of Dynasty for your choice. But yeah, so I was kind of surprised that it went back to a very traditional movie after this. But if you forget, before that, who could forget Sweet Liberty, her other recommendation?
Oh, she's got some good picks, Michelle. She's just good. She keeps things comical.
They're very different.
And
all
I was going to say,
I'm sure
unique.
There was another one that I forget. Oh, Midnight Madness?
Oh.
Kind of remember that. the youngest of Mikey J. Foxes ever, and there were like teams that had to run around and go on a scavenger hunt.
Yes. That was fun.
Yeah.
That one was fun.
Anyway, and if you want to hear our Handshake 5, it's on Patreon, patreon.com/Good Times Great Movies. We got our plug-in at the start this time.
Oh, look at that.
So if we haven't named the movie, which is something we never do until we're 20 minutes into our show, it is Johnny Dangerously from 1984, directed by the wonderful Amy Heckerling.
Yeah.
Who you may know if you're staying in the 80s from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But if you'd like to creep into the 90s, Clueless? Come on. Then she does mostly television now. She had a pretty good run there for a bit. And I'm not saying the run's over because she does TV, but that's mainly where she works now.
Gotcha.
And here's the thing that I have to sort of ask you before we start.
Okay.
This movie, if you were to look at the movie poster and perhaps watch the trailer, this movie props up Michael Keaton and Joe Piscopo as equals in this movie. And I would, like, Joe Piscopo, first of all, doesn't show up until like a half hour into this movie.
Well, like young Joe Piscopo does, the character.
You mean the
younger.
child?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his character.
But
I know what you mean.
Right.
Joe Piscopo himself.
I was shocked by this. It felt more to me like a Michael Keaton Griffin Dunn movie than anything else. I was very surprised as to how small a role, and I mean, he's kind of the main villain once the other main villain is gone. It's just so,
they got to get that.
Yeah, it's
Maroney
just so
guy
bizarre to be like, Joe Piscopo's in this. I guess he's famous. Let's put him on the poster. But he's kind of like third, maybe fourth build in this movie.
Well, he's got some pretty fun lines for his character, and I see where
I'm
it's
not
not
saying
like
he doesn't.
Well, he is not the titular character. No, it's not Johnny Dangerously, and I even forget what is his character's name. Vermin.
Yeah,
Johnny
I
Dangerously
really had a
and Vermin.
hard time. Yeah. Half the time I'm calling Michael Keaton Johnny in my notes. Half the time I'm calling him Keaton. I kind of just call Mary Lou Henner all through my notes. As usual, I had a hard time with the names. Yeah. Peter Boyle's always okay. Peter Boyle. I don't care if he's Young Frankenstein or Everybody Loves Raymond's dad. He's just Peter Boyle.
Or as he is in this movie. Hold on, wait.
Flip through the
name right. Hold on, listen. Oh, wait, I had it written down. Jacko Dundee. Very mobster style. This movie's so silly and so fun.
Style. When I hear Dundee, I think of mobsters, not an Australian guy with the nickname Crocodile.
Hey, in the 20s, maybe. You don't know.
You're right. I don't know what was happening in the 20s.
Let's tell the story. That just happens sometimes when I'm telling a story.
He was like, that'll go away in a few minutes. And it was gone in a couple seconds. Like, all right.
I loved it. I love it. I love it so much.
Let's go to, we are given a very specific date at the beginning, which is 1935. And I think the majority of the movie takes place 5 years earlier in 1930.
Yeah.
I tried to do the math here.
Yeah, that was good. So we really should be saying the 30s.
Yeah, when somebody says 1935 and then they say 5 years ago, I can do that.
Yeah, that's good math. Look at you.
Yeah, thanks.
Just real quick.
I mean, I had to count on my hands, but I got there.
But you figured it out. Mm-hmm. This was we talked about this in another one of our recent movies where there's a little bit of that cartoon opening where the something fun they did in the, I think more in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the 90s if they did that so much. It's a fun way to kind of to roll your credits, get your opening credits going, and give you a little introduction to the movie. But
right, and if your movie is going to be fun, the movie you're thinking of that we recently watched was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, which also had bizarre animated credits. If your movie's supposed to be a comedy, that's totally fine. Do it. And something we criticize movies of this decade for a lot. I didn't have trouble reading the names. I didn't have trouble reading these credits, which is something we do run into from time to time.
Yeah, no, the print was there. It was perfect. We are in a pet store. A very it's not just a pet store; it's like an exotic pet store.
Jamie,
like,
there's dogs and cats. What are you talking
no,
about? No,
there is. He's also
like
feeding
a turtle.
like and a parrot, and there's a whole other team of like lizards, isn't he feeding? And he's got a tray of food that he brings out to them. He takes very good care of his pets. It's very cute. Michael Keaton does a great job in this movie. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat.
Okay, what is with this eye makeup? What are they doing? What are they doing?
Oh, where he looks like he's wearing eyeliner.
Yes, it is wild, and he's the only one. Everybody else looks like they just showed up on set and they got fitted for whatever suits they were wearing, and for some reason they made it look like he has two black eyes or plays guitar for Green Day or something like that. Like, it is a very strange look, but I guess that's...
I want to say it's the gangster style. I don't know that gangsters wore eyeliner, but...
I don't notice it in those old movies, but they talk about James Cagney and stuff like that, like... Maybe there was eye makeup in those movies, but I feel like I watch a lot of those old movies and I never noticed it before. No, he just looks very strange.
One specifically gangsters. Well, maybe that was a way to make him stand out a little. Maybe it was an experiment he was doing. I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that he's got a little.
There's something.
A little cover girl, stay all day, black eyeliner happening around his eyes, and then a young, almost a newsie himself, like a young kid comes in.
You see a kid in a movie and it's set in the 30s, it's a newsie. Let's just listen. Every kid running around this city is a newsie.
Every young boy,
right.
Yes.
There are no young girls in this movie. Forget that. There are no young girls or people of color because it was the 30s. So
yeah, it was New York City in the 30s. Yeah,
female children did not exist.
No, they were all at home helping their mom do laundry, which I love how much Ma Kelly did so much laundry.
It's a lot of laundry. There were a lot
and
of
she's so fresh,
questions
her mouth,
I had in this movie that were paid off with some pretty good jokes. When I audibly, sitting alone in my house watching this, went, how old is his fucking mom? And then he says, you're 29. I really did laugh. That really
and
hit
I love
me.
it. She says, "I hope I make it to 30."
That's because it's not the first time you meet her. You meet her on the street, and I was like, "This old lady that he's calling mom. This is really weird." And it's not until like the next scene where the age is revealed, and I thought that was pretty funny. All right, but okay, we're not even there. Right. We're not even into this movie. We don't know what's happening.
Well, we do meet her. Okay, so you did talk about the mom before. Before the newsie we mentioned walks into the store, we see Michael Keaton, who is Johnny, feeding the pets and doing it. Sure. He's very proud to be this pet shop owner.
Yeah.
The phone rings and the parrot answers the phone. He says,
does.
"Can you get that, Polly?" And Polly answers, and it's his mom. But the kid walks in and tries to steal a puppy. Or a cat. Was it a puppy or a
puppy.
cat?
It's a puppy.
Because he gives him a cat at the end.
This kid, I did think this was pretty funny too, because this kid comes in to this pet store and looks around, looks to both sides, and unzips his coat. And I was like, is this kid going to try and steal an animal? And he just lifts a dog out and shoves it into his jacket. It's pretty great, but he doesn't get that far. Because Michael Keaton put like an alarm system on each of these animals.
It's a weird tag.
It's just
thing
a
that
tag. It's just like a string tied to him. And he's like, they're equipped on every animal. And I did not know what he was talking about.
But he's got the boy's attention now, the boy's ear. He tells him, don't worry, I won't call the cops on you, but I am going to tell you of a story of my life of crime and why Crime Kid doesn't pay.
Exactly.
And I love these kind of movies where we're telling a story so we get to go back to and see.
We get to go back to a lot of stock footage for a while, which I found really fun. It was like, oh, this is just stock footage of like
when we're learning
20s,
about the immigrants that came,
But then it's all stock footage and it's all in black and white, and then suddenly we see like a clean black and white image, and I'm like, oh, okay, now this is the movie, and then it kind of dissolves or fades into color, or color comes through. There's a lot in this movie that I found pretty funny, and most of it, I got to tell you, his mom is doing a great job.
Oh, she's a riot.
This woman, when I guess he is legit a newsie on the side of the street.
Yeah,
And
yeah, he's selling papes.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do.
Who knows where she's coming from? And the fact that it's snowing and it's cold, and she even says, like, this is one of the worst Julys in years. It's really, her delivery is amazing. She was really, really fantastic in this movie.
Yeah,
so.
she was. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Her character is a lot of fun. Her line delivery is spot on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's selling papes. Mom tells him, you get upstairs soon. This is the coldest January or July. He gets into a little fight, a little scuff.
A little
with another, a fellow newsie.
This kid hauls off and punches him right in the face, and he beats the shit out of this kid.
Yeah, it's quite a little fist fight they have over the corner, because that's the newsies thing, who sells their papes where. Yeah. And it just so happens the local gangster sees it.
Peter Boyle is wildly impressed with watching two children beat each other up.
Well, he needs a guy like this on his team.
Like, he really is sitting there, like, the biggest smile on his face, just being like, that kid, he can hold his own. He's awesome.
Yeah, I want to scoop him up. And he makes the offer to Johnny, and Johnny says, he says, you can make $50.
Hey, basically, like, you want to break the law for $50, kid?
Yeah. And he says, I can't break the law to break my ma's heart.
Yeah. Oh, our first conversion, $50 then, $700 today. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they throw around the money amounts, and I don't think that they're, like we said, the old lady that asked for $19,000, like, that's not even an amount she would know to ask for. I don't think. I mean, maybe.
That is, Jamie, I told you that's over $300,000 today. And just the fact that you would, even today, the mob, let's say a bunch of mobsters, you literally watch them murder somebody, and they say to you, how much to keep your mouth shut? And you say, I don't know, $375,000. I don't think they're going to give that to you.
In a wad of money rolled up. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. So yeah, the offer's made, but he refuses it because he doesn't want to follow life.
He's a good kid,
Yeah.
He says, like, I can't commit crimes. It'll break my mother's heart.
Well, and we find out, which is kind of funny in the apartment, when he goes back to his apartment, he runs forever up the stairs. It's the biggest apartment building ever. He runs forever up the stairs, and his father, there's a picture of him in I was going to say a jail onesie. That's not what they're called.
It's pretty close.
And they're not called scrubs. What are they called?
I don't know. Jail outfits? A jail ensemble?
Okay,
I don't know.
Okay. What do we know? We've never spent time in jail with the stripes. They have a picture of the dad, and he is apparently a criminal.
It makes me think that
and not in their lives.
Striped jail outfits were popular in the 20s and 30s. They don't exist today. Maybe they were never a thing, and it was just like a thing for TV and movies.
For the movies, to show the... No, I think they were a thing.
Really? Do you also think that bags with dollar signs on them full of money might have been a thing too? Because that's what all movies taught me as well. All right.
I do.
Boy, they were really just spot on. They were like, well, these guys are in jail. There's bars all over the place. So I guess we should just
stripe them out.
Have a pattern with the same stripes. Put them in there. What's in that bag? Money. How do we know? How will people know what to steal? Well, we'll put a big dollar sign on it.
There you go.
I love it.
There you go. That's how it's worked.
That's how you know you're not getting a bag of laundry.
Exactly.
So he gets home, and his doctor has just left the apartment.
I do love this doctor and all these different medical issues that Ma Kelly has.
I got to tell you, later on, when this doctor is on, I don't know, the 47th operation, I think this doctor is just fleecing this family at that point. Like, I think this doctor is just like, this family has cash now. I'm going to take full advantage of this.
He asked for, this one is the problem is her pancreas.
Right, yes.
She needs a pancreas operation, and it happens to be on special this week, which every time she needs a surgery, he's like, well, it's a special.
Yep.
It's $49.95.
Yes. He doesn't have much of a choice. Right. He kind of has to go and do this. Listen, that'll cover the operation, plus he'll have 5 cents left. And back then, so he could, who knows what that could buy you.
Right?
Entire dinner.
Yeah, he could maybe buy her glasses or something. We also meet his... so we meet his mom, and we meet his little brother, Tommy.
This
So Tommy.
kid is like 8 years old and professionally studying law at this point.
Yeah, he's excited about it. And again, the picture of his dad is in a frame, and I love it. So it is Ma Kelly's birthday. We mentioned she's turning 30 or 29. And Johnny bought her a present, and it's an ashtray. And she goes, oh, an ashtray. I've wanted to take up smoking. Thank you.
It's really given her that nudge she needed to take up smoking.
So, yeah, but all of this is to say he loves his family very much, and they're a very connected family. And, of course, he's got to turn to a life of crime for the money that will help support his mother, who, when she's in the apartment, when they show her in the apartment, half the time she's ironing because that's what her job is to do the laundry of all of the people in the community.
Oh, I was going to listen, you could have stopped after all of the people because it's never expressly made clear how much laundry she's doing or, who she's doing laundry for. Later we see there's an entire room where the entire ceiling caves in and it's full of laundry. Great, physical comedy by Michael Keaton. Mm-hmm. All right. So, so he decides, I'm a little confused about this stick up or whatever this is because they go to a casino, a nightclub casino owned by. Listen, I don't know this guy's name. I literally wrote Dracula in my notes. This guy,
Maroney. He's so great. He's so great.
The way this guy looks, he looks like a wax figure has come to life and somehow appeared in a movie.
He looks very crazy, and I want to know who gave him the direction that they gave him because his accent that he uses.
Everything about him, you could tell me that it's just a child with prosthetics on, and I would believe it. No part of this man looks like a human being. Later, when he's a robot, I was like, that's amazing. That robot looks
when
just
he's a
like
robot
him.
that comes out of the box. I love it when he's at court and he freaks out about which train is faster than that train. He's like, this is a trick question.
This guy is insane. I looked him up. He kind of looks very similar. I was surprised with his headshot on IMDb that he still kind of looked like that. He did stuff. He hasn't worked in a few years. His biggest role was in this movie, but he's great.
He
looks wild. Later on, when his picture's in the newspaper, and it's just
with his crazy
darkness,
eyes,
but the whitest of eyes. This is insane looking.
If you know this movie, you know that his lines are some of the memorable ones because and I don't think this movie has any cursing in it, and he does it.
I don't even know because it took me so long to realize that he wasn't cursing. Because when it started, he's like, "I'm gonna fucking take your fucking arm and I'm gonna rip it off your fucking leg and I'm gonna shove it up your ass." I'm like, "What is this movie rated? What am I watching right now?" No. And it took a long time for me to realize that it was just swapping in fucking.
Forgan ice hole.
Yeah, it's just,
he does say something about a cock. I'm gonna squeeze your cock or something. I don't know. I'm gonna. I'm crushing your balls in a meat grinder.
Yeah, there's a lot of cocks and dicks and all sorts of stuff.
No, but he doesn't say it like he
that's
says
what I mean.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, listen, you knew what you were getting into. For me, this was a brand new experience. And when this guy started F-bombing everything, I was like, what movie? I thought this was a kid's movie. I really didn't know what was going on. Later, when we're seeing a cartoon balls brush his teeth or whatever, I was like, what is going on right now?
That's pretty great too. I forgot about that, but then instantly remembered it when I saw it because again, I did watch it as a kid, so I don't know I understand the balls part as much when I was a kid watching it, but it was still a lot of fun.
That was wild. I am still confused as to what the purpose of that film was. And
it was so that he wouldn't have sex with his, he wouldn't want to have sex. He would go to law school.
I understand that. I just mean, if you are Griffin Dunne at that moment and you watch this, what are you getting out of it? What is the message that you're getting out of your balls brushing their teeth and exercising and then Betty Boop, kind of, enough so you don't get sued, walks over and then you explode and I'm like, well, wait.
I like the beginning, all the guys with the big balls looking around the hospital.
There's a lot going on. We're not even there. I don't want to get too far ahead. No, we're not there.
We're skipping all ahead because you want to. You want to dance with this movie. It's so fun.
I kind of want to know what's going on. But, so they go to rob Dracula, and they go to this, like you said, nightclub.
Yeah.
And the kid is tasked with, I guess his only job is to put guns inside of newspapers and
kind of deliver them to the right people.
Deliver them to the right people so that Peter Boyle and his gang can rob everyone, but not everyone.
No.
This movie, I love.
They kind of want to take over the nightclub, I think.
Right. Well, do they? I mean, they talk about only robbing the one
maybe
guy.
You're right. Maybe just
This movie's so funny because what I love about this movie, and they do this a lot in those old movies that they're kind of spoofing here, is, and Michael Keaton at one point even expressly says it. He's like, "Yeah, we were criminals, but we also did some really, really good things for the community," because it really is like, well, these are the bad guys, but these are the not really bad guys. Like, that's what I found really funny about this. And they expressly say yeah, we're criminals, but you know what? We give stuff to orphanages or whatever. And that's like, we're the ones you should be rooting for. I kind of found that fun. Because if you think about it from the other thing and you're like, oh, I'm just watching horrible people do horrible things to other horrible people, that's not as fun. You need some sort of
a little redemption.
Yeah. If you're watching Goodfellas, you need some sort of rooting interest. Even though now that I think about it, I'm not sure I'm supposed to root for in that movie.
Karen, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. You're probably right. Karen? Maybe Debbie Mazar? I don't know. You got a fucking whore up there. All right. Okay. So they kind of rob this place, and it kind of goes bad.
It's really, it gets a little fun where... What do you mean it kind of goes bad?
Well, because the Dracula and his buddies kind of get the drop on them.
Oh, yeah, but that's when Michael Keaton or Johnny...
Baby Michael Keaton, yeah.
Baby
Johnny.
Baby Johnny kicks it in the high gear, and I love it. Maroney gets so mad. He's like, stop that kid. He's swinging around like a monkey. Because he is. He's just like... He kind of takes over and does this fancy footwork moves and even shoots him... Gets himself to slide across the bar with a bucket on his head to knock Maroney down.
A metal bucket on his head, then runs and slides, and then the footage is sped up like you're watching a Three Stooges cartoon.
Yeah.
Cartoon? I guess when they're on Scooby-Doo, it's a cartoon. And then he hits him and basically saves Peter Boyle's life.
Yeah.
There are so many times in this movie where people are shot and they're totally fine. There's no evidence that they were shot.
Well, Peter Boyle, we should mention this. He is okay,
right?
Because he's got a little cigarette case,
yes,
that blocks the bullet. Plus, then baby Michael Keaton, baby Johnny Dangerously, helps save him too. So yeah, they look like they're in a little bit of trouble for a second, but then, but
Johnny Dangerously comes
Johnny
to the
Dangerously
rescue.
saves
also,
the day.
He's not even named Johnny Dangerously because this is when Peter Boyle says, "What's your name?" and he says Johnny, and Peter Boyle's like, Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah, and then she gets his titular name. And Dracula, as you like to call him.
I'm going to keep doing it. You can call him his real name. That's fine.
Maroney tells him, looks at him and says, I never forget a Forgan face. I'll never forget.
I don't know. That kid looks nothing like Michael Keaton. If I saw him as a child and I saw Michael Keaton, I would not put two and two together. But for 5 years, for 5 years, he saw this kid grow up, I'm sure. They live in the same community.
So they know. Right.
Oh, can I also say, I find it funny sometimes when they cut back to Michael Keaton telling the story, and he's always doing fun things. I love this one where he has the pricing gun, and he's putting prices
he's tagging all
directly onto the animals.
And he's just doing it casually. He hangs up one, puts the little price tag, hangs up another.
Yep.
So funny. Oh, I guess they do still do that.
They do not put price tags on animals, Jamie. I don't know where you do your animal shopping.
No, at the store, do they do that like the price tag gun anymore? Don't you just scan all your items in with the barcode?
Yeah, I don't think they do that. Yeah.
I remember that was a thing. How fun was it to use that?
I've never used it. Wait, where were you working? Where you got to price things?
My dad, when he worked because he was a butcher, and sometimes you'd help him in the store, and you would price things with that. That was super fun.
Did your dad like this movie?
We watched it as a kid. He liked it. Yeah. I watched it as a kid. My siblings and my brother and I really liked it. And I'm pretty sure my dad enjoyed it, too.
That was, okay.
Yeah.
I really thought when I said that, you would be like, oh, yeah, my dad loved this. Like, I could picture him being like, Jamie, they got our number, these guys. They know what we're like.
Yeah, this was one of the movies in my family rotation, or at least, again, I remember my brother and my brother would do that Maroney line, "You forget ice hole," all the time. And they were, the other line that Piscopo's character says, "My mother did that to me once."
Man.
Just once.
By the end of this movie, I'm like, oh God, he murders his entire family.
His entire family's dead. And they do terrible things to him. His father hangs him on the back of a wall. His mother tried to shoot.
That's not cool.
No.
Yeah,
we did
they
lives from
deserve
this
to
movie.
die.
It was a fun one. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They were not nice to you. That's why you have issues.
So we get this is really weird because then he's like, and 5 years passed, and I was part of the mob, and then we get like all sorts of mob montage stuff where people are like talking and sometimes screaming, and I'm like, oh, this is like all cut footage. Like, it's just other scenes that I guess we're not going to see, but they're like, oh, we can use this because you do watch Dracula just like screaming, but you can't hear a word he's saying. And yeah, so that sort of says, and I think
kind of catches you up to date.
Yeah, he's
right,
like, all right, now we're up to 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is when he's talking about all the good things they did, and Peter Boyle and his cronies are dressed like elves at one point around Christmas, wrapping presents.
Just wrap it. For whom? Maybe each other. We don't know.
Yeah.
But they were doing nice things. Well, and then Johnny goes back to his hometown, and they love him there. Everyone is just so excited to see him. Johnny dangerously. But then he makes the announcement he's going to go visit his mom, and he makes the announcement, and the whole neighborhood chimes in. Remember, I'm just a nightclub owner, not a notorious gangster. Because apparently the whole neighborhood knows who he really is, this notorious gangster. But his mother and his brother
They're
still
the
believe
only
him to
people that do not know he's a mobster. That was kind of fun because there's like a lady like coming down the downspout like it's a fireman's pole. Like some old lady jumps out the window to come down. The Pope's there. I mean, Dom DeLuise.
Dom DeLuise does always fun to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is like the Pope, not just like the local priest or clergyman. He's the Pope because he gives him again a wad of money and tells him to bring it to the Vatican or whatever, to clean up the Vatican with it.
You know what this reminded me of, Jamie? And this is, listen, it's not like I want to talk about the Spice Girls all the time, but
you kind of
in the Spice Girls movie, there was one funny thing where they asked one of the Spice Girls something like, do you like?
We're talking about Johnny Dangerously. I know. Bringing up Spice Girls.
Like, do you like to wear these outfits, or do you like, do you believe in girl power? And she goes, is the Pope Catholic? And it becomes such a big deal in this movie. Like, it's a huge controversy because then they cut to news people where they're like, the Spice Girls are questioning whether the Pope is actually Catholic or not. Anyway, a fun part of that movie that I forgot to talk about while I was talking about the Spice Girls.
Well, good.
And I needed Dom DeLuise to remind me of that.
And I'm glad he did. I'm sad that Dom DeLuise only had this little bit. I wish we saw more of him, even as the Pope.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I wish he did come back because we have, what's his face? I don't know the actor's real name, but My Favorite Martian playing that newspaper guy. He's in there all the time. Yeah. Like every 10 minutes he's getting hit by something. And I kind of expected Dom DeLuise to wander into another scene at some point, but he never does.
But this was all we see him of.
Yeah,
that's all we see.
So he goes upstairs to visit his mom again, and we talked about
still ironing.
we talked about all the laundry that falls on his head in another room.
I love it. She's got something boiling on the stove, and it's just beer with noodles.
Just beer, right. His brother, now played by Griffin Dunne, of Who's That Girl fame. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. He says that he is dropping out of law school. He's there with his girlfriend, fiance. I don't know, because later on they're engaged, and somebody's like, wow, you guys are engaged. And I thought, wait, weren't they engaged before? But I guess they're just dating now. I don't know what's going on. But he mentions that he is dropping out of law school, but he cannot say why in front of his mother.
I love it. And I love it. So he says he can't say why, and Johnny's like, all right, no big deal. Like, we'll sort this out. You come visit me and we'll talk about it. And when Johnny leaves, she's like, can't say it in front of me. Why? Because you want, and the mom, Kelly, just comes out and says, oh, because you want a pork, because you want to have sex, because you want to hump her leg, or hump her bones. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah. She turns into like Burgess Meredith from Grumpy Old Men for a little while. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So then we go with Johnny, because Johnny's like, oh, come over later to the club and you can talk to me about this. So now we go to his club. There's the doorman gag where his doorman says so many nice things about his mom.
And he has to keep tipping him,
Mm-hmm. But this is where...
I like later when he's getting shot at and the doorman's still giving... He still has to give the doorman money. But
this is where we see Mary Lou Henner. We're introduced to this character. Lil, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
And she is singing, and all the other girls are so into... Johnny, but they swoon on him. They say, Johnny, can you be my first? Right. Johnny, I'm available tonight. Yep. And he's just cool as a cucumber. He's got all the ladies. He's not slimy, but he's cool, right? Yeah, he's cool, but he's like got his sights locked onto Mary Lou Henner.
Oh yeah, he's all eyes on her, and she's sassy. He comes over, he brings his card, he's trying to get her number, and she's kind of like, no, I'm not into you.
No.
And did you like this? She was a simple girl from Pittsburgh.
Oh, because I'm a simple boy from Pittsburgh. Yes, right. I did like later when she thought she was in Chicago.
I did like that. She's like, oh, I'm in Chicago. Yeah. He's like, this is New York City. She was like,
whatever.
I mean,
they're the same. Yeah, super fun. So now, after this kind of, I mean, it's not an awkward encounter, but she's not interested. She seems like a tough chick. Now we finally meet, because he goes to Peter Boyle's office to talk to him about this, because I guess Peter Boyle really owns this club. I don't really know. But let's just say that Johnny Dangerously is the manager and Peter Boyle's the owner. I'm not sure.
That's how it would work. Okay. Yeah.
But now Peter Boyle basically says, hey, I'd like you to meet Danny and Dutch. I don't know why I wrote Dutch's name down.
Yeah,
this guy's barely got any moments in this movie, but Danny is revealed, first of all, to be Joe Piscopo, but also to be the kid that he fought with on the street corner at the beginning of this movie. And he's like,
they have
hey,
some history.
These guys are working for me. Listen, we know that you're kind of in charge, but hey, they're here, so...
I think he even says, Danny, when he's like, oh, yeah, I remember you from the old neighborhood. And he's like, yeah, I've become a real scumbag.
Yes.
And Johnny's like, it's all right. It's good to have goals and reach them.
Yeah, again, Michael Keaton is so charming. It really doesn't matter what he's doing. He is just very, very charming in kind of any movie. Like, I don't know. I'm not telling listeners anything they don't know. All of this possible tension, I don't even know, is broken up when
the package arrives.
A giant crate is delivered. And when it's opened up... And
it's not Richard Pryor,
No.
You know.
Yeah, right. Richard Pryor does not jump out to become a white child slave in this movie. Even though that was a Jamie birthday pick, as this movie would have been if it wasn't Handshake 5. No, this crate is full of an animatronic Dracula who shows up with a giant machine gun and shoots at everybody and misses everyone.
Yeah, misses everybody. They all duck down. And then I think it's got a note attached to it that says, the note reads something like, if I missed all of you.
Yeah, I'm what a shame, but I'll kill you later. Right.
Yeah.
And then there is now a little bit of tension between Johnny and Joe Piscopo. And this is where Johnny lifts him up and hangs him on the back of the door.
Well, Joe Piscopo's character's reaction is instantly like, well, we'll kill him. That's what we'll do. And he says he's got a gun that can shoot through schools.
Right.
Which is a little bit, but whatever.
Which doesn't, let's say that joke doesn't age that well.
No, not at all. I know. When he said it, I kind of bit a knuckle. I was like, oh, that's not so fun.
All right. I mean, you don't need to brag about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have said any institution.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't have to do that, but they did, and it works for the time for this. But yeah, they get heated and hot about how to deal with this, and Johnny has his ways, and Danny, Joe Piscopo, wants to come on, take over.
Right.
And yeah, Johnny kind of hangs him on a hook.
Yeah,
on the
and
back
then
of
he's
the door.
basically like, listen, I will take care of this my way, which means that he's going to fly a plane and drop a bomb on this guy.
He says, he hangs him on the hook, and then, again, Piscopo has this titular or this line that he does, and he says, you shouldn't have grabbed me. My mother grabbed me and hung me on a hook once, just once.
Right.
So what happened to Mom, we don't know. But he says, don't worry, because then his boss is like, well, how are you going to handle this? He's like, we're going to do something very subtle, something very quiet. It's just going to be handled our way.
Right.
And then we see him in an airplane bombing the nightclub.
This cartoonish violence is so bizarre because
It's
there
so
are
funny.
multiple times in this movie where people should have exploded and just kind of walk
that's
out
why it's so
like
fun.
like you're in a Looney Tunes cartoon and they're like,
Yes, exactly.
"Oh, I'm going to get
It's,
you."
yeah. It's like watching a mafia cartoon. It's
Yes.
pretty great.
Speaking of cartoons, Griffin Dunn comes over later and is like, hey, Johnny, let me talk to you about what's going on. And I love how Johnny's surrounded by women and he's like, do you think this is good? This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is a terrible life I'm living. It's awful. And then he takes him into another room, his bedroom, I guess, because he's on this circular bed, and he has a projection screen that comes down, and he shows him a video.
From the Atlanta General Institution.
Atlanta General Institution called like Your Testicles and You or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your testicles and you. And it starts out with all these men in a hospital hallway with these huge balls. It's an enlarged scrotum, but they're huge. Like they're comically. This is not a condition.
It's
this
just
doesn't
old
happen.
men walking around with giant balls, and then just the doctor's
obnoxiously
there.
giant.
Yeah, like really crazy. And
Yeah.
then a doctor's there sitting at his desk, and he's like, let me show you this cartoon. And like I said before, listen, I was trying to figure out the anatomy of this thing that we're looking at, but I guess it's balls that have a body and arms and legs.
And they're like a little bit hairy.
Yes. But it just goes through a daily routine. It's taking a bath, brushing his teeth, because he has eyes and a nose and a mouth, of course, too. And then he's working out. This thing is lifting weights. Griffin Dunn does not seem to understand what's going on. He looks wildly confused watching this. We literally just saw real footage of old men with giant balls, and now we watch a cartoon where Betty Boop comes out, rubs herself against them, and this cartoon
balls
explodes.
Yeah.
Which then I was like, well, wait, if those old men had exploded balls, why are they so big? It doesn't matter. Griffin Dunn...
He's convinced now. He can have.
Right.
He shouldn't be looking forward to sex because sex can be a dangerous thing. And now the job's done. This was Johnny's job. He promised his mother, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll convince him to go back to law school," and he does. This video convinces him that he can wait to get married.
Yeah,
because that's he does say
your
that
balls
when he
could
sits,
explode at any time. It doesn't need to happen now.
When he sits down with his brother, when the whole starts, he basically says, I just want to have sex really bad.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to want to have sex so badly.
Yeah.
But
he's convinced, and literally, in case we as the audience weren't sure, he says, "I'm going back to law school," and runs out of the room. So honestly, crisis averted.
Johnny dangerously just smiles confidently. I was like,
sure,
right,
he did.
it.
He did his job. Listen, he is a man who kind of strolls through life and can do no wrong. At every turn, the decisions he's making are good ones. No one appears to be hurt by anything he's doing. He literally bombed a man who's totally fine now. So it doesn't really matter. Then we go to the nightclub, like at night. The nightclub at night. Yeah. And Peter Boyle gets up and does this big speech about how Johnny is now his successor.
Oh, yeah, he's passing it down.
Right.
Kind of passing the baton
and
to Johnny.
Then, now, Jamie, I know you love this movie. And who am I to sit here and say bad things about a movie you love? I got to tell you, Mary Lou Henner comes up to sing, and the gags are not there. It is not funny.
Her little song and number.
It is.
Her little song
It
and
is
dance
right.
number.
Like, I am a big fan of Hot Shots.
Oh,
There is a scene in Hot Shots where the woman, I forget the actress's name, but she is singing. And she falls off the piano while she's singing.
Oh,
she
yeah.
swings the mic at one point, hits a guy in the face. She stops singing, drinks water while the song and her voice continues. Like, I was ready for those gags. I was ready to go,
No, it
how
doesn't
dare
get that
you, Hot
silly.
Shots, rip off this movie.
Yeah.
But it really isn't funny. And I know Mary Lou Henner has it in her. Like, this, I was very surprised that the jokes weren't here. But
It
that's
it weren't loud jokes. They were definitely subtle and
maybe there were jokes in the
seductive.
lyrics, but it just appears to be a love song to Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah, she sings.
It's like a Johnny
basically, the song's
Dangerously
called
theme
Dangerously.
song, right?
Yeah, she wants to sing dangerously.
Yes.
Yeah. But by the end of this song, be it funny or not, he is hooked.
It works for
and
him.
she's changed her tune.
Yeah.
She started out not being into him, but
Mm-hmm.
he takes her for a walk. I do like it. They walk after the show for a long time. They're suddenly like in a field, and he's like, "Where are we?" And that's when she says something like, "Well, I don't know. I just love being in Chicago." And he's like, "We're not even in Chicago. We're in New York City."
Yeah, it is a great sight gag because I really don't know what they're talking about. I'm not saying.
Well, they're
that-
having conversation back and forth, and it's funny because they're like, like first date getting to know each other, and he keeps saying things like, "Well, I didn't know my father, and I didn't know my grandfather, and I didn't know my grandfather's grandfather," and like he's just
Yeah.
keeps going through family members that he doesn't
He's
know.
go on and on, but the real gag with this is the sight gag that the rear projection behind them is constantly changing. So they're like
yeah.
in the city, but then they're in the country, and then they're kind of in the suburbs, and they're back in the city, and then at the end they're just in a field in the middle of nothing. So yeah,
But then this is fun too. They kiss, and there's fireworks just happening, and even his boss is looking out the window and sees fireworks. He's like, "Oh, Johnny must be getting laid."
Yep.
And now after this, they're a couple. They're together.
they're immediately a
She's
couple.
driving him and dropping him off places.
yeah,
and
and she drops him off for work, but I guess across this, he still has to go quite a ways to get to work, and now everyone's shooting at him. And is this just because he's the successor?
This is the work day. This is the work is getting tough.
All right.
And because I love it, she drops him off and she says, "Just be careful, and
Yeah.
have a good day." And he's dodging bullets from even a baby
A
and a
baby
basket.
tries to kill him.
Yeah.
A mannequin in the window turns out to actually be a woman with a gun. Yeah, everybody's trying to shoot him. He eventually gets in, and he and Peter Boyle just sit around eating cookies for a long time.
It's great because he's like, "Oh, it's a tough day out there." And again, I think it's a comical look at what would a tough day in a mobster's
Right.
life be? He's getting shot at left and right. And yeah, his response is like, "Well, you know what makes me feel good when we have days like this is I eat a cookie."
Just eating cookies and milk.
They eat cookies together, but there was a plumber doing some work in his bathroom.
Right. Yes.
And the plumber comes out, and then he goes back to take
Peter Boyle.
to take a pee. Peter
Yeah.
Boyle goes back to take a pee, and that's when it hits Johnny. Like, "Oh no, it's probably not good for you to be back there." He calls to him. A big explosion happens, and Peter Boyle comes out of the bathroom holding something in his hand and screaming.
Yeah, he's
But
holding
he
like,
looks fine.
the handle.
He-
Like it must be one of the handle with the little chains.
Yeah.
So he's holding that handle, and he's screaming and yelling that he blew his dick off. I'm sorry, his dork off, which I found that very distracting.
I got my dork in
I
my
got my
hand.
dork in my hand, and I'm like, is that like an old 1930s name for a toilet handle? I'm so stupid. I did not, because again, I thought that one guy was cursing the whole time. So the fact that they're saying dork, I was unprepared for that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a big no, you're fine. And Peter
But it's a
Doyle
sign.
is fine. Yeah, it's a sign that he's going to retire.
He's going to fully step down. Like, he kind of put the power in Johnny's hands. That exchange was a couple nights ago at the nightclub. But now he's
Exactly.
totally stepping down because things are just getting
Yeah.
too dangerous.
Yes. Now we flash back to reality, and Michael Keaton is polishing a turtle. Pretty great. But now I guess now he is the mob boss at this point.
Yeah.
And I thought we were at Griffin Dunn's wedding. We're not. It's just Griffin Dunn's graduation. He has
Right. He
graduated.
says-
Yes.
He introduces this at the pet shop in his story as, I had a lot of great things going for me, but Ma's health was in check, things were good, but my biggest challenge still lies ahead. And that's what then we're introduced to.
Yeah. Because the kid's like, hey,
Yeah.
great story, you weird guy that owns a pet store. And he's like, wait a minute, my story's not over. Like, bad things haven't happened yet.
Yeah,
and
wait till
I'm
you
like,
hear.
oh, yeah, they haven't. Like, I've just been watching a movie about how great Johnny Dangerously is. So his brother graduates. There's a big celebration. His mother calls him the gay slur for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little bit tough.
Yeah, I do like she goes to get her camera out of her purse.
Yeah.
She's like, hold on. She's taking like steak and all this shit out of her purse to look for the camera.
I do like how it's just a loose steak. Like that's
not
not
wrapped
something
or
you see in
anything.
these
Yeah.
types of gags.
Uh-huh.
Is this where after this graduation, this is where it runs into the doctor? And what's the problem with her now? It's actually
I wrote
pretty
this one
funny.
down.
He comes home, Johnny, and the doctor's there. And the doctor's like, oh no. And he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he says, it's your mother's thyroid. And he goes, what's the problem? And he goes, she doesn't have
we can't
one.
find it. Yeah.
I did find that pretty funny. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't get the idea that he was going to go straight. I thought he was
Not yet,
like
no.
just living this life.
Yeah.
So this is where the movie gets a little bit. Now we get into like what this movie is. It's taken a little while to get there, but he tried to get his brother a job, Griffin Dunn, a job for some law office.
Right.
But Griffin Dunn's got his sights set on the DA's office because he wants to fight crime. Bum, bum, bum. This is a big
Right.
problem. So now, oh my God, I didn't even know Danny DeVito was in this movie, but suddenly
He's a
Danny DeVito's in this movie.
Great slime ball. Yeah.
And Danny DeVito is the DA, hires Griffin Dunn just to then tell him to take a vacation.
Well,
like, I'm
because
like, why'd you hire him in the first place, dude?
Because the DA office, and that's one thing that Johnny is like, oh, well, thank goodness the DA office works for me.
Right.
They pay them off.
But they could have paid them off to not hire his brother. That's
Well,
what
the
I
brother-
mean. I know you have to do this for plot reasons, but I just found it like very odd to be like, well, why did they hire him if they knew that this was going to be a huge problem?
Well, this was his dream job, so Johnny Dangerously wants to give his brother. He even says later, like, earlier when the brother finally graduates and says, and I want to be a DA. He's like, so the brother that I put through law school now wants to be.
Right. So you're saying even though he knows that there's a potential for serious issues, he lets his brother get this job because he loves his brother so much.
Yes.
Okay. all
Yes.
right.
And that's when he looks at the
Right. Okay.
DA, because he's the assistant DA, right? The brother.
Yeah.
So he looks at Danny DeVito, who's basically in his pocket, and says, just don't give him a lot to do.
Right, right, yes.
So Danny DeVito's first thing is as soon as he gets in the office, he's like, you know what? Take a 2-week vacation.
Right,
Just you don't have to
But Griffin
work.
Dunn, listen, Griffin Dunn did not work this hard since he was 7 years old to become a lawyer, not to do anything because he gets right to work.
Yeah.
Like immediately. And I guess the biggest problem in the city, I guess, isn't Peter Boyle's gang and this mysteriously
No, it's the Maroney
mysterious figure named Johnny Dangerously, who none of his family know about.
It's unsure,
Yeah, it's Dracula. He's the big guy. And
well, and he lists the things that he's a. Did you listen to any of these things that the Maroney's gang is accused of? The Christmas Day slaughter, Lincoln's birthday mutilization.
Okay, yes, I
The
remember.
Groundhog Day beheading.
Yep.
Beheadings, rather.
Yeah.
These are the things. These are some pretty. Again, they're a very dangerous group where Johnny Dangerously groups is they fight amongst themselves more or less. They keep it within.
Unless
that's how the mob's
they're
supposed to
throwing
work. No
bombs at
civilians.
other mobsters or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
They're just, getting protection money and stuff like that. We
Right.
get that later from Joe Piscopo, who at this point in my notes I wrote, is Joe Piscopo even in this movie? Because
He
again,
is.
we haven't seen him since he was hanging on the back of a door a long time ago.
Right. When he's left there, he had to
Right.
figure out how to get down.
So-
He gets Maroney in court, and
Gets
for
him
all
in
of
court.
these acts,
It is quite the display.
Oh, it's quite the
in
show.
court.
It's quite the show. Maroney calls them all cork suckers.
Yep.
And more Forgan ice holes. That's like his favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy is grilling him with evidence and is like, well, what about this gun that we found that has your fingerprints on it and that was found here? And again, Maroney's like, I don't know. And then he goes crazy with this whole, how fast is this train? I don't even know how it goes, but about the speed of a train and where does it arrive and how does it get there? And Maroney freaks out and he's like, this is a trick question. I do not know. And it's great.
And then it's really like like spinning a newspaper into headline where it says he's deported to Sweden, and then has a quote saying that's not even where I'm from. Which
and he's not from there.
Yeah, this is very this is very shocking to me, because then I went, oh, the villain of the movie is out of the movie. Like I really didn't know where we were going. I was, I kind of got the idea that, it was going to come down to Griffin Dunne versus his brother, of course.
Right.
But I kind of thought Dracula would be involved. But no, Dracula's done. His part of this story is over. Mm-hmm. And basically, because of that, the mobsters are sort of all bummed out now that I'm going to say they're not killing people as they usually do.
Yeah, business is slow, I guess.
Business is slow. And the main thing is, they see Johnny as being a bit soft. Yes.
Yeah, he's too soft. And he's being especially soft now because he doesn't want to get in any extra trouble with his brother's new role.
Right,
but
yes.
Piscopo is like, I don't even tell people what I do anymore. I tell them I'm a barber or I'm a male nurse. I don't tell them that I'm a gangster.
Yeah.
And but then Johnny convinces them, and it is kind of great. He's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, first of all, we're the only gang with dental insurance." Yep. And then he's like, "How many hats do you have? How many vacations do you take?" Like he's trying to remind them, the whole.
I do like how the one guy's like,
philosophy: be grateful for.
I have 137 hats, and he's like, "That's a lot of hats. Like, you should be happy about that."
Yeah. How many times do you and your wife go on vacation?
Right.
Yeah. So he's reminding them to be grateful for what they do have, that they do have a lot, and that they are doing well.
And maybe he has now convinced them. But meanwhile, Griffin Dunne, he's got his sights set on Johnny Dangerously, and he goes to Danny DeVito's house.
Who lives in this outrageous mansion.
Right, he lives. Yes. Yeah. He's the DA, lives in a giant mansion, and for some reason Griffin Dunne's not putting two and two together. And
they have a dinner, and he's like, "Do you want any more milk-fed veal or whatever?"
Yeah,
I don't know.
This meeting turns into sort of a game show.
Oh, it's really fun.
Yep.
It's really fun.
Danny DeVito, I love how Danny DeVito wants to give him a washing machine, and then he wants to give him a boat, and he wants him to live in the Philadelphia Art Museum. That's what
Is that what it's a picture of?
Yes. I was like, oh, Rocky ran up those steps.
Oh yeah, he shows a picture. This could be your house, and he's trying to win him over. They have dinner together, and then he's like, all of this could be yours.
Right.
And it's funny because his face at first, the brother's face is like, yeah, this all looks great. But then shortly he turns.
Yeah, immediately he's like,
he realizes he's getting.
Also, I'm going to go to the real cops about you.
Yeah.
And
so Danny DeVito makes a call to, he thinks Johnny Dangerously, to say, hey, this didn't work. It didn't turn out the way we wanted. What should I do? And it's Piscopo that answers and is like, you know what? Oh, I'm Johnny. Yeah, go ahead and kill him. And Danny DeVito's like, that's exactly what I thought Johnny would want.
And he's like, I already took care of it, which makes me think oh, you cut his brakes when he arrived. Regardless of what was going to happen,
no matter the answer,
probably going to die at the end.
You wanted this kid out of here. Yeah. But it's funny because he's driving the car, and all of a sudden the music speeds up quite a bit while he's in the car, and he loses his brakes. He drives down a hill, and then Johnny and Ma Kelly and his fiance.
Did you think it was a little bit distracting as he rolled down this hill? We just heard Griffin Dunne say, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!"
I
just
loved
looped.
it.
I was like, wow, that's really crazy. It's a weird decision there.
It's
yeah,
great.
but then he's in a full body cast. They all see him in a full body cast, and Johnny knows what happened here.
Yeah.
He knows that Danny DeVito did this. So he decides, and boy, oh boy, Jamie, did you do your research with this one? Because I did, and it sent me down an amazing rabbit hole.
What, this dinner?
Oh, let's talk about this dinner. Because Johnny takes Danny DeVito out for some beers, and Danny DeVito totally hits on him, which I thought was really great.
I love it. He says, what does he tell him? We should spend some more time together.
Yeah.
How does 2 weeks in Puerto Rico sound to you?
Puerto Rico. And I was like, oh, why does he think he's into him? Well, maybe it's because he bought him a smoking jacket, first of all.
A bright red smoking jacket.
Yes. And then, so this is where I was like, something's happening here
great.
that I'm not, like, my brain
Not
isn't connecting. Because Danny DeVito says, hey, what are we drinking? And Johnny goes, I got to use the bathroom, read the label. So he reads the label and he's like, malt liquor. And suddenly a bull busts through the wall. He holds up this bright red smoking jacket, screams, cut to a newspaper ad that says basically, Danny DeVito killed by commercial.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jamie, I really needed to know what was going on here, and I looked it up. I went to that thing called the internet, and I typed in, Johnny Dangerously killed by commercial. There were a series of commercials made in the late 70s by Schlitz. In these commercials, each commercial had two, kind of end of their career groups. Like one was like the Platters and Casey and the Sunshine Band or something, where the one group would sing a little bit about how great this beer was, and then the other group would sing like, no, that's not beer, it's malt liquor, read the label. And the other group would read the label and go bull, and a bull would crash through the bar. And I was like, there's a series of these very specific commercials from...
And they kind of pay a little nod to it.
It was like
Fun.
The commercials were made between 1976 and 79. So even early for this movie. But the commercials, I got to tell you, are amazing.
Are they great?
It's really great. I had so much fun because I found one and I went, that's really weird. And then I found another one. I was like, these are famous bands doing shitty Schlitz commercials.
Schlitz.
I mean?
It's hard to say it. Yeah.
Schlitz commercials in the late 70s. And I was like, oh, I guess that made sense at the time, but I did not understand what was happening. So that's all.
That's great. I didn't know that.
You should look into it. It really is worth watching.
Look into
them.
it.
So
awesome.
Johnny Dangerously is a little bit freaked out at this point. It appears that he and Mary Lou Henner have moved in together.
We go back to where Johnny lives, and he lives in this apartment building, this fancy apartment building, where apparently all these other mobsters live.
Right.
You see the mailboxes for different mobsters, including the Capones.
She wants a couple bullets, which I thought was great. She's like, can you spare a couple bullets? He's like, we need our bullets.
Well, he's very tense. He comes home and he's just had a hard day. He can't...
Well, his brother was just in a full-body cast. His brother might be out of the full-body cast now, and maybe that's why he's freaked out, because he's kind of upset because there's nowhere to run. His brother's probably going to come after him. And Mary Lou Henner's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go straight and, have kids in a normal life. It takes a few moments of convincing, and he's like, hey, great idea. All right, let's do it.
I mean, when Mary Lou Henner's singing and dancing for you.
But they have a wedding to go to. It's finally time for Griffin Dunne to get married and get laid.
I love at this wedding, Ma Kelly makes a little confession.
Oh, that she goes both ways?
Yes. She looks at what's her name, at Mary Lou, and says, oh, I love you so much. I love you like a daughter, and I want to share some stuff with you. And she's like, great, Mom, what do you want to share? I go both ways. Mary Lou does not know what to do with this information.
Like, okay. That's great. Okay. Also, you look great for 45. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Where are we now with your age? But no, brother finally gets married. He gets married in the courthouse. But while he's getting married in the courthouse, Piscopo has followed.
Yes, he's been tailing
Johnny.
Griffin Dunne.
Yes. And so, that's who I didn't know who they were following.
Because they just see Johnny by accident.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But now he sees, because Johnny says, like, I'm so proud of my brother. And he goes, brothers.
Yeah, I do like how he sees them at the wedding. They're the only people there at this wedding. And he's like, ooh, intriguing. But it's not until they walk out and he goes, I'm so proud of my brother. Then he goes, oh my God, they're brothers.
They're brothers, yeah. He needs to hear it. Yeah, he's not a very smart gangster.
Yeah, he just thought he was hanging out with his basically mortal enemy for fun.
Yeah.
He was invited to the wedding. It would be rude not to show up.
Yeah, exactly. His brother goes right away to take his new bride into a custodian's closet to have sex.
This brother believes that having sex will make your balls explode, and he cannot wait to do this.
He can't wait. He goes in, and they literally go into a custodian's closet to just, I guess, get it on.
Yeah.
And he overhears, while he's in the custodian closet getting intimate with his new wife, he overhears Piscopo saying, I can't believe the new DA's brother is Johnny Dangerously. Yes. But Johnny Dangerously is the DA's brother.
Yep.
And he leaves the girl high and dry, which is so funny because the custodian comes to go into his little custodian office, and he sees this, I guess, naked woman in there, and it was like, hallelujah, or something like
Jamie,
that.
I gotta tell you, I was ready for a very last joke of this movie where
they were together.
No, it's gonna sound terrible, but I gotta say it. I was really ready for a joke at the end of this movie where Griffin Dunne is like, Johnny, also, I have a kid, and it's a little black baby. I was totally ready for that. I was like, all right, we're in the 80s. They would make this joke. They would make this joke.
Yeah.
I 100% expected it to happen.
It would be a good one.
I'm glad it didn't, but I really expected it to happen.
It would have been a good one, though. I agree.
Yeah, I was ready.
And this movie could have pulled it off. Yeah.
So now, right outside, he had just gotten married, but he confronts Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, listen, we're enemies. Here's what we're going to do. Let's fight. If you beat me...
Yeah, we're just going to have a straight up fist fight.
Because now he's the DA. Unintended consequences. The fact that Johnny murdered Danny DeVito with a bull made his brother the new DA. Again, kind of bad decisions here. But he's like, listen, if you beat me, I will quit my job. And if I win, you go straight. And Johnny totally takes a dive here.
Well, he does. He takes a minute, though, with it. He's going to go in it, and then he has a vision. He sees his brother as a kid. He sees Tommy as a little kid. He hears his mom saying, come on, just don't, do it for your brother or something. And he totally, his brother knocks him out. He's like, all right, fine, you're right. I'll go clean. It's all good.
Yep,
Let's do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then he does a weird commercial about chewing gum for kids, about how
it
smoking's bad for you.
Very strange, fourth wall breaking PSA about cigarettes. But because he's so nice, he's like, I got to go tell my monster buddies that I quit. Not that I quit. He's like, we're all going straight. We're all shutting this down. Not like, you know what? Now, Joe Piscopo, you're in charge. Or, Hat Man, maybe you're the next up. I don't know. But now he talks about cigarettes and how chewing gum is better. And he's got, I guess he still has Peter Boyle's cigarette case. But I guess now it's filled with gum because he must just chew gum all the time. But now he and Joe Piscopo have an argument about going straight.
Oh, yeah.
And he decides, I guess, turn himself in or whatever.
Yeah, he's going to give all this evidence to the commissioner.
Right, yes, because he's going to go to the police commissioner. And he basically tells them all, I am not going to turn you guys in.
Yeah,
You're all good.
Me.
This is me. Yeah. I'm going to turn myself in. That's fine. Whatever. And I guess somehow Joe Piscopo and Dutch get there before him. I don't know how that happens. They make good time, let's say.
Yeah, they make good work of it. They're sneaky bastards. And Johnny puts his file on the commissioner's desk and is like, here you go. Here's everything. And the commissioner is dead. And it's
totally deadzos.
Done by Piscopo. And now...
And now they reveal themselves and they club him, knock him right out.
Yes, and they frame him. They put a gun in his hand so it looks like he killed the commissioner, and then they got into some kind of fight. And then Then there's a cleaning lady, an Irish cleaning lady in the hallway.
Oh, ta-ta-ta. I didn't see it. Before she's like cursing at everybody, I'm like, I don't understand this accent, lady. And it's not until later on she says I'm Irish, and I went, oh, really?
I guess. I mean, she's jolly. I love it when they first
You
go
know
up
those
to her,
Irish, very jolly people.
the jolliest. When they first go up to her, they're like, hey, can you do something for us? She goes, do you want me to take both of you on, or you just one want to watch?
Yes.
So,
She's up for it, you know.
yeah, she's down.
She's fine.
Up or down. But no, they offer her a bribe to not say anything about what she's seen, and she says, say anything about what? And basically makes a wad of cash.
17 grand, or
just
by
on this
today's money, $275,000.
Good money. It's good money she's
really
making.
good money. And I got to tell you, Jamie, this is a super silly movie, full of jokes, and it's making fun of mob stuff and crimes. When they framed her for that murder, I went, this is a pretty good idea. I was like, guys, you totally did this. Like, you nailed it. So now we cut to him being arrested or brought in to the police captain. Yeah. Like, I don't know. He's surrounded by press, and they're acting like they've never met him before. Where I was doesn't everybody in this neighborhood know who this guy is?
They know him, but they've never seen him. He's like that elusive mobster guy that never gets seen.
So it's just his small part of the street where his mother lives that knows him.
Right?
The rest of the city does not. Got it. Okay.
That's how I see it. That's how I see
it.
No,
right. You could be right. I'm glad you're filling in these gaps for me.
The newspapers, the reporters are all over him. They're taking pictures. He's like, hey, if this is your first picture of Johnny Dangerously, let me look good in it. And the pop flash blinds him, so he looks crazy. And
I'm just like, you're going to jail for murder, right? Like, you did, like,
he doesn't care.
He's not fazed at all by any of this. I love how Alan Hale is the police commissioner. Alan Hale from Gilligan's Island.
Oh yeah.
And okay, so here's the thing. So because I guess there's no other possible way, I guess the screenwriters sat down. They're like, well, I have no idea how anyone's going to figure out Joe Piscopo did this. Before Joe Piscopo left, he stole his cigarette case for no reason whatsoever. No. So when he's in front of him, he's like, oh, I'll prove it wasn't me. Because cigarette case? And then he goes, I don't have my cigarette case. You find who has that, you'll find the person who killed the police commissioner or whoever.
He's supposed to empty his pockets and give everything, right? And then he realizes that his case is missing. And then he's like, wait a minute. And I love it. The guy's like, did you leave it on the sink? Sometimes I leave it on the sink. Did you put it in the car? Sometimes I do that.
And he's like, no, newspaper man.
Yeah. He's like, no, I always keep it with me. If it's not with me, I'll tell you what you're going to do is because he's telling them, I was framed. I did not kill the commissioner. He says, I'll tell you what you're going to do is you're going to find who's ever got my cigarette case, and then you'll know that's the person.
Maybe I was overthinking this because that's when I was like, he was totally cool as a cucumber until he couldn't find this cigarette case. What did that have in it?
I think he had to empty out all his belongings and then realize.
And this proves I was innocent or something. Right. But no, so...
But it kind of does. He puts it out there what is needed to prove his innocence.
So now he goes... go ahead. Sorry.
His family comes to the courthouse, too.
Yeah.
Because now this is going to be a thing. Mm-hmm. And even Ma Kelly is like, all right, we'll take a picture of my good side, boys, when the reporters are taking pictures. And Ma Kelly is funny because she's kind of like on the fence. Like she even says, I'm very proud of Tommy, but I'm also very sad for Johnny. Right. It's a tough time to be the Kelly mom. You're
because Griffin Dunne is very excited. He's like, I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
You said you were going straight and immediately murdered the police commissioner.
He's pissed. He's like, you said that. Right. And he's like, you got to believe me. I didn't do this. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, then why'd you have the gun? And da-da-da. And he does the bit about the cigarette case, but at first... his brother doesn't believe him. Tommy's like, whatever, cigarette case. You're just trying to cover it up, and you are a real criminal.
They find out right away, because I was like, wait, the trial's already happened. Oh, okay. Because, they run into... Because Joe Piscopo's just hanging around the courtroom.
He's always
like a murderer who just hangs around the scene of a crime just because he wants to see what's going on. But he drops the cigarette case, and Griffin Dunn's like, hey, that's my brother's. I'm going to get you. Nobody in this movie plays it cool because maybe... don't say anything, dude. And you can
maybe just look
magic.
at it, take it in, and be like, ha ha ha, my brother was right.
Because the moment he says this, then immediately Joe Piscopo's like, well, great, now we got to go kill the DA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also his mother's on the case now for some reason. And she, like, I did not know that this Irish cleaning lady, I guess, lives in the same building as his mother.
Yeah.
But she's like, hey, listen, if you fess up about who murdered that dude, I'll give you money. How much do you want? And she's like, $19,500. That's $316,000, Jamie. And this lady has been doing a lot of laundry because she's got
she's
that
saving
money.
up. Yeah. She gives her the roll of money. And she's helping things out.
Right.
She's making sure that, because she doesn't totally trust, I guess, her DA son. And she wants to make sure that her other son is safe.
This is like she doesn't trust
him. Wants to
him.
help it out a little. Right.
Yeah.
So to get a witness for them, because what's he going to do with the cigarette case? Well, how's that going to, prove any innocence? He gets...
It really doesn't prove any innocence. Which, again, you're right. Now that I think about it, that means nothing.
Except Johnny says he had this case and now this guy has
Right,
it.
yeah, exactly.
But this, like you said, the cleaning lady agrees that she will kind of counter confess or whatever, or say everything that she's seen.
I think it's called tell the truth, Jamie.
Tell the truth, not counter confess. That's a
I didn't mean that. I'd like to counter confess now. But you haven't committed any crimes. Well, whatever. I mean, I just know stuff. So here's the thing is that apparently there's a new Jimmy Cagney movie in town. It's the biggest thing going, and everybody's going to be there, including the DA. So Joe Piscopo's plan is at this movie, they're going to shoot him.
Yeah, this is a great time to do it.
I think they call that like the Abe Lincoln special.
Yeah. This is also, we get to see... Johnny is in the big house.
He's in the big house. He's having a great time. Everybody knows him.
Yeah, he's handing out wads of money to the prison guards and everybody. All the guys in the cells know him, and it is a little lonely. He's in his little, but even his jail outfit. He's wearing a belt. He's kind of snazzily dressed. When Ma Kelly goes to the cleaning lady to kind of make the deal with her, and she tells her, we have a lot in common.
Right, yeah.
And she's like, what do we have in common? She says, well, we both scrub floors. We're both swell lookers. And neither one of us is Chinese.
Just throw that in there. Why not? Go right ahead.
I love it. Anyway, sorry.
No.
Johnny's girl comes and visits him in the jail.
Yeah.
And Johnny convinces her to pretend that she's into Piscopo so that she can get some intel.
Yeah.
And at first she's like, I could never. And he's like, come on, you're going to get me some good intel and it'll all work and it'll be great. So she does get the intel that because the DA, the brother, goes straight, right? Doesn't he go right to Piscopo and says, like, I'm going to get you?
Yeah, again,
and that's
just yelling, like, I'm going to send you to jail.
Very good at his job.
What?
Yeah. He's not very good at his job.
He's terrible at his job.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm sure he knows the law, but, all that time he was spending studying, he should have just
He's not sly.
had more social interactions with people and figured out how to talk to other people.
Right.
So yeah, he's basically like, you're going down, dude. P.S. I gotta go to a movie later. This is exactly where I'll be at what time. So this is when he figures out, this is where we're gonna kill him. And then,
no, they hear it on the news.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah. They turn
How
on the
are we
radio.
going to find out where he's at or what time? They turn on the news and there it is. And the whole time, Johnny's girl is there, so she sees all this. Even the brother is like, oh, you've moved on so quickly. And she's like, yeah, I go where the passion is or whatever. But when they make this plan to shoot the DA at the movie, she is there, and she tells the parrot to go to the big house and let Johnny know. And then it's a fun thing. The parrot flies, and there's a game of telephone that goes on or they get the message to Johnny and it's something else, but
who's
he
eating
figures
sushi
out.
in prison. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
He's got sushi.
Yeah.
Nobody else does, of course. And then he decides to, like, I want to be murdered immediately. Like, I want to go to the electric chair now. Can you get me there tonight? Because he's got a whole plan for escape.
Yeah, he has a whole freak out that he does
Yes,
purposely
right.
in the cafeteria.
Very Beetlejuicy. I gotta say, very Beetlejuicy.
But this was pre-Beetlejuicy, so is it Johnny Dangerous?
Nope, it's Beetlejuicy. Sorry.
Okay.
So he does all of this. Okay, so the priest comes to him that evening.
But it's a priest that he specifically chose.
Yes. And the priest is, I don't, one of his mob buddies, I guess. I didn't know if I was supposed to know this character or not.
Well, he opens up the Bible and it's like part of like a
right. It's like part of a gun.
Yeah.
And then as he walks down the, let's call it the Green Mile, as he walks down the Green Mile, all the other prisoners hand him pieces to construct this gun that he then, holds the warden up with, and he can escape. But then I like how the warden's like, you weren't going to shoot me, were you? And he goes, with this, and he throws him the gun. And it's just
and
a bunch of pieces. Yeah.
I love it when the priest is walking him. It's a fake priest.
Oh, yeah.
So when he should be saying the prayer, he's saying, we missed the bus. You missed the bus. They missed the bus. When is the next bus?
Yep. Yeah.
I love it.
So it's basically a race to this movie theater because we see that Griffin Dunne sitting down to this movie. We also see that Joe Piscopo is behind the screen, and his plan is to take a little knife and cut a hole in the screen, and then he's going to use this giant long gun that he has.
Oh, the one that he can't wait to use.
Right, yes. It shoots through schools. And he's going to murder Griffin Dunne with this. He escapes from prison, Johnny Dangerously, and he gets in a car driven by Mary Lou Henner, and his priest buddy's in the back. At one point, the guy's mooning people next to him.
Oh, yeah. Because they're changing, because they keep changing. Right.
And a throwaway line that I thought was a throwaway line is that Mary Lou Henner loves shelf paper.
Yeah.
But it's a gag where they call in that the car's black, and he starts pulling shelf paper off the car to reveal a white car.
Yeah.
But then that's called in, and he pulls more off to reveal a duck and bunny paper.
And I love it when whoever's the cop.
Alan Hale.
Oh,
the
thank you,
great,
Al.
skipper from Gilligan's Island.
Oh, yeah, the skipper's calling it in.
I don't think anyone ever called him Skip throughout the duration of that show. He was like, oh, good old Skip. My favorite character. He's really getting a kick out of this. He's having so much fun.
Well, because now it's not only is it a car with ducks and bunnies, but they're also dressed like nuns inside the car.
Yes.
They keep changing their outfit. First they were in the black car dressed as fishermen, then they were in the white car as fishermen, and now they are in this other car dressed as ducks and bunnies. But they are on their way to the movie theater to stop this shooting from happening.
And they basically do. Because, Johnny Dangerously runs down the aisle of the theater, dives in front of his brother. Joe Piscopo shoots him, but again, it hits does it hit the thing? No, his brother. He shoots Griffin Dunne. His brother jumps in front, but the bullet hits because Griffin Dunne now has the cigarette case.
Right.
And it saves his life. And as Johnny Dangerously dives, he shoots. I thought he shot Joe Piscopo, because even Joe Piscopo's like, ugh, and falls through the screen. Later on, gets up, does not appear to be injured.
No. You're like
shot.
you said, people are getting shot maybe in
right.
this?
Yes. And then they're all happy. A happy family. And we cut back to present day. And, his story has ended. This kid may have learned a thing or two. So he gives this kid a kitten and tells him that crime does not pay. But it is revealed as he walks outside, Mary Lou Henner pulls up in a very, very nice car. And he turns to us, the audience, addressing us again. Last time he was talking about chewing gum. But he tells us that crime pays a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. The end.
That's the wrap on Johnny Dangerously.
Whew.
Well, what'd you think?
All right, I was going to say, do I even need to ask you what you thought?
Oh, I loved it. I've loved this movie then. I was a little nervous because I hadn't seen it for a while. I'm like, will it hold up? I'm pretty sure it'll hold up. And it did. It did. There was very few things that I didn't remember. A couple of the lines that I forgot. I didn't remember the whole the testicles video, but probably because I was a kid and I didn't understand it.
That might be the only part of this that really sticks with me for a very long time is that cartoon. The testicles brushing their teeth is something I don't know.
I think I didn't understand it.
Oh, no.
So as a kid, I didn't.
I totally understand that. I did not like this.
You didn't like it?
I had such a hard time with it. Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like comedy is something that doesn't usually age all that well. But I feel like it's the thing that you can probably have the most nostalgia for. Like if I had seen this when I was younger, I really think I would have gotten a kick out of it.
Yeah.
But it's just like watching this now, almost 40 years later, I could watch it and be like, I understand that these are jokes. I understand that what's happening right now is supposed to be funny.
Right.
Very few things landed for me.
All right.
Yeah. I feel bad saying it, but I did not have fun watching
Hey, you
this
gotta
movie.
be honest. You gotta be honest with how you feel.
I'm not gonna lie
and
to our listeners.
having no connection, and I think sometimes that happens with some of these movies. If you don't, sometimes it's the connection, the nostalgia, like you said, that makes it. I also, like I said, it's mob movies were a big part of my growing up.
Sure.
And this being a funny mob, because it was either mob movies or comedies that we were watching in my house, and this was kind of a combination of both. So
it was on regular rotation.
It's super special to me.
No. I understand, and I had a feeling I wasn't gonna.
I was worried too that you weren't going to like it, but I thought you'd enjoy Michael Keaton's performance enough. But then when you gave the explanation about how you see him and then him in this role, I see what happened here.
Yeah, I think it was a red flag when I kind of had never really heard anybody talk about this movie, where it seems like a very personal choice to like this.
Oh,
that seemed bad. All right. Okay. Anyway, do you have a recommendation?
I do. It's another family favorite.
Sure.
It's another favorite. It's a 90s movie. It's got a little mafia touch in it. It's the movie 29th Street. I think it was made in 1991. It's kind of loosely based on the true story of Frank Pesch. He was the first guy to win the New York State Lottery. And he was this Italian guy from Queens that just had this blessed kind of luck. Danny Aiello's in it, and Lainie Kazan is in it. It's really great. I saw somebody describe it on, I don't know, it was either on YouTube or Amazon, and it kind of fits. It's like if Goodfellas met It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
It's this guy Frank Pesch wins the lotto, and it lottery, and it kind of changes his life, and he's got this estranged, love-hate relationship with his dad, but it's an Italian family, and they represent an Italian family really well. It's another movie that my family and I used to quote and say to each other all the time. It's a lot of fun, and he kind of gets involved again because he's Italian and he's in Queens. Frank Pesch kind of gets involved with the mafia a little bit, so it's got sort of a mafia connection, and it's comedy, but it's also a little bit of drama, and it's just a really sweet story. And it's really actually probably one of my favorite movies. It's a good one. 29th Street. Yeah.
I will definitely have to check that out then. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
How about for you? It's got to be some 1930s French mobster movie.
20 years off. It's 1954.
Oh, okay.
It's a movie called Pushover, and it's a movie where a bank robbery takes place at the beginning, and the cops have a good idea of who the robbers are, but they can't prove it. So they're basically like, okay, we're just going to stake out this dude's girlfriend's place. Like they get a apartment across the street from her, and they're like, we'll just watch him and we'll see what happens with the money, and then we can swoop in and everything like that. So the main cop on this is the Fred McMurray, the dad from My Three Sons.
Oh.
And he kind of totally falls in love with this mobster's girlfriend just from afar. But then he kind of like runs into her, And after a while, they get pretty hot and heavy.
Ooh.
And she's like, all right, I don't know where the money is. I know what you're doing here, but I can find out. And listen, if you then off him, you and I can take this money, and that's it. And this is a movie from the 50s, and it gets very dark. Like, to the point where he's like, oh no, one of my cop buddies found out. I guess I got to totes murder this dude. Like, it gets really, really dark in a way that these movies don't usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really, really good. So that's my recommendation.
Excellent.
From this. We're going to stick with, I guess, mobster. I don't know if they're mobsters, but crime movies, let's say. We're coming back in 2 weeks as usual.
Yeah. We're on our sketch.
We're going to talk about... I thought we did this before, not did this movie, but for some reason, our next episode's going to come out on Michelle Pfeiffer's birthday.
Oh.
So we're going to talk about a Michelle Pfeiffer and Jeff Goldblum movie.
Fabulous.
Called Into the Night.
Into the Night with Goldblum and Pfeiffer?
Goldblum and Pfeiffer. Dan Aykroyd is in this too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan Awkward, you mean?
Dan Awkward. Dan Awkward. I have never heard anyone make that joke before. But,
it's an original. It's a J-Lo original.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm kind of here for it, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody, listen, thank you so much.
We appreciate y'all.
One thing I was going to say at the beginning that I forgot, I'll start to try and say this at the beginning of all of our shows, is if you're just listening to us in audio form and you want to see what we look like, we are now going to start to put these things up on YouTube.
That's right.
Because Jamie's husband said he would do it because I don't want to do it.
He's savvy. Because he's savvy like that.
Yeah, so now that we have somebody working behind the scenes for us, we can put this up on our YouTube channel. Just find Good Times, Great Movies on YouTube. We do have all our past episodes up there, but there's not a visual component. I kind of just put like a still from the movie up there, but you can hear us talk. Yeah, that's perfect enough. But now you can actually see us as we talk about it. So look for that on future episodes. And until we see you guys again in 2 weeks, have a great 2 weeks, everybody.
Take care. You Forgan ice holes.
I'll feed you sizzling steak and bootleg gin and chocolate cake till it's a sin. We'll work it off and keep you thin. I wanna eat dangerously. Sizzling. Cheers. I wanna dangerously. I need to be reckless. I need to be daring. I need to take chances and tempt my fate. I need to be foolish. Need to be crazy before it's too late. And I'm out of date. I'm just a slave to my desire and not afraid to play with fire. I'll burn it off flame and get it high. I wanna live dangerously.
I go both ways.
I was going to say Michelle should just program our show. like
kinda
she's
feel like
constantly
she's got-
giving us stuff that we've never seen before.
We should have like a month, which would only be 2 episodes, but potentially, but still,